Ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday Football Scoop Podcast. You know what we do on Thursdays? We talk about the upcoming amazing slate of college football. Today, I've got college football expert Zach Barnett, Doug Samuels. I'm your host, Scott Roussel. And there's a slate. It's a slate. There's a slate of football games. We're going to talk about them. There are some fun games. There's going to be some, as there always are, some great games that we just didn't focus on. Thursday night, there's football. Friday, we'll move to the last game of the night, which I think is the potentially consequential one. Colorado State is at San Diego State. Colorado State is off to a horrendous start. Jay Norvell is feeling the pressure. Jay is making changes within the staff, assignments. Jay has called the offense for years. He says Matt Mummy will now be more involved calling the offense. Why have your offense coordinator more involved? Who knows? San Diego State kind of feels like they caught their stride a little bit. I think this might be one, and I could be wrong, where San Diego State kind of gets into them a little bit and could be season altering for Colorado State. Gentlemen, any thoughts on that one? It's late at night.
Scott, you and I had a little birdie reach out to us saying that the people up there expected something that could have happened last week, and obviously it didn't. So it seems like it's sooner rather than later in regards to the coaching change at Colorado State.
If it happens after midnight on CBS Sports Network, does anyone even know what happened?
No. And then you wake up Saturday morning to, okay, that happened. All right, well, let's talk about Vanderbilt, Alabama, Miami, Florida State.
That's where Colorado State is in the pecking order these days. Moving right along, Saturday, we got football. Let me start with a couple of exciting games, and then there's a bunch of other games. Texas, Florida, Zach, you happen to be a resident expert. Give me some thoughts on that one.
Yeah, obviously it starts with Arch Manning, and if he doesn't throw 5 touchdowns, then he's the worst quarterback of all time, all that stuff. So I think most people saw him play against Ohio State, where he lost in that game. And then they saw the clips of the UTEP game where he was awful, and if they were playing someone competent, they would have lost that game. But then he went out and diced up Sam Houston and played fantastic football. And I'm not saying that you should ignore those 2 games and say this is the Arch Manning that you're going to get moving forward, because I don't think that's the case. But I think at the same time you need to put all 3 performances in context and say he had more of his regular people around him for that game. He's more experienced by that game. I think the more he plays, the more comfortable he's going to get. DeAndre Moore was back, his main receiver, and it helped in that one. Trey Wisner, his starting running back, should be back for this one. So is he going to throw for 315 yards and play near perfect football against Florida? Absolutely not. But I think if he continues to take a step forward, Texas will continue on to its goals of be 10-2 and be hell on wheels by the time December and January get here. So I expect something like 24-13 Texas win. But at the same time, I predict Florida to beat Miami. I still think they have one great performance in them.
I agree.
They get Dallas Wilson back, a stud wide receiver. They're at home. Is this the time? I can't sit here and say I'd be shocked if Florida also won this game 20-17, something like that.
Yeah, I feel like this is more of a coin flip than Florida's going to get on track sooner or later. And with the way Arch Manning has played early, is this a gotcha game for them? And can Florida put it together? This matchup is about 2 quarterbacks that have underperformed to preseason expectations. DJ Lagway has 5 touchdowns and 6 picks. You could argue he's been perhaps the most disappointing quarterback in the country that came in with a bunch of hype. So if he can get on track, I think Florida can make this really interesting and make it maybe a 1-score game. And if Arch Manning doesn't rise to the occasion, then this is maybe a game that Florida can get.
The Lagway thing is he had 12 touchdowns, 9 picks, and we all just kind of ignored that last year because he averaged 10 yards per attempt, and now he's a true freshman. But 5 and 6 this year, he's nearly 1-to-1 in touchdowns and interceptions, and that makes you ask, is he just not seeing it the way we all expected him to? Is his mind so far behind his body because he could throw the football a mile, but does he know when and where to throw that? I don't know the answer to that. And then also I think we all collectively kind of overlooked the fact that he didn't really have an offseason. And so where is he at in terms of preparation, considering how much time he missed? And is that all that catching up to him also?
I think Texas's defense is the difference maker here. I think Texas is defensively is just too much for Lagway. Lagway hasn't impressed. I think Florida's got fight in them until they don't, and so I think Texas can take away that fight. And me, I happen to be a believer in Arch. I think Texas wins this game, kind of pulling away. Staying in the SEC real fast. Vandy, Alabama. Doug, give me some Diego Pavia thoughts on this one.
I mean, when was the last time that we saw a top 10 Alabama team face a top 20 Vanderbilt team? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe you SEC experts have some opinions on that. I also saw, I think yesterday, which I don't think is the best thing for Diego Pavia, but I saw Johnny Manziel has come out and said he's mentoring him. I'm not sure that's a great thing. But if Diego Pavia and Jerry Kill and Clark Lee can continue this train moving down the tracks, like Vanderbilt's a team that a lot of people don't want to play. A lot of defenses don't want to see because they're so unique in their option principles and spreading the ball out. And Diego's a dog. Like that's a dude you do not want to see with the ball in their hands with the game on the line. Like he is the real deal. And they got the Tide last year, so this is a game a lot of people have had circled, and as much of a coin flip as an Alabama Vanderbilt game has ever really been. Alabama's got some momentum coming off the Georgia win, but I mean it's really hard to bet against the squad that Clark Lee has right now in the way that they're playing.
I mean, you look at the Vanderbilt loss last year, the Oklahoma loss, the Florida State loss this year. What all those have in common is the quarterbacks totaled more carries than completions. They were basically option quarterbacks in a way, and it screwed with Alabama's rules defensively. They were a step slow, they were indecisive, and all those guys made them pay for that. It was also obviously, Vanderbilt got Alabama the week after they played Georgia. Oklahoma played them 2 weeks after they just hammered LSU. So it seems like the focus among Alabama's team wasn't there. The Michigan loss was after a long layoff. The Florida State loss obviously was the opening of the season. Alabama's probably not their freshest, having played Georgia. They put a lot into that game mentally, physically, emotionally. So maybe Vanderbilt's catching them at the good time. But the counter all that is, if we're all aware of that, obviously Alabama's players and coaches are aware of that. None of this is sneaking by Kalen DeBoer, Kane Womack, and those players. So I have to believe there's a little bit of a William Wallace type moment between Kalen DeBoer and his team to start this week. If we remember what these guys did to us last year, we're not going to let them come into our stadium and ruin all this progress we've made over these last 3 weeks. So I think Alabama wins. It's tough for me to see Alabama having a letdown against the same team 2 years in a row.
Vanderbilt gets off early. Look out. I think Vanderbilt might win this game outright. I'm saying that right here.
I do think if Vanderbilt, if it's 10-3, and Vanderbilt goes on a long drive, even kick a field goal, and then they get the ball to start the second half, and you're like, oh my gosh, we've only had the ball 10 minutes in the first half, and now we got to kick off to these guys. Like Alabama is absolutely going to feel like they're drowning.
What if it's 14-0? Vanderbilt at the end of the first quarter.
Confidence is a scary thing for a team to have, and Vanderbilt is a top 4 scoring offense in the country right now. And now, granted, they've played Charleston Southern, Virginia Tech, South Carolina, Georgia State, Utah State has been their schedule. But I'd love to know the last time Vanderbilt went into this matchup as the higher scoring team is another thing to keep track of.
It'll be an interesting one. All right, boys. Miami, Florida State. Any swag in that game? Come on. Kane's got to have this one. Got to.
I mean, Florida State really impressed with their offensive line in that win over Alabama early in the year, but I think Miami's offensive front seven, offensive line and defensive front seven are among the most impressive in college football. And I think that's what this game comes down to. I think it's close, but I think Miami has the experience at quarterback and the talent on both sides of the offensive and defensive lines to wrap this thing up.
I think if you're Florida State, you need to call this game to allow your offense to control the pace and the tempo in this game. And what I mean by that is if you're Florida State's defense, the worst case scenario for you is a 12-play, 80-yard, 7-minute touchdown drive. Like, I'd rather give up 80 yards over 3 plays than 12 and let my offense get back on the field, let them control the clock, let them lean on Miami, not let those pass rushers for Miami just pin their ears back and get after me. You're not going to shut them out anyway. I think if you're Florida State, your path to win this game is 38-35, something like that. So you need a up-tempo game with a lot of possession. So I think if I'm Tony White, I'm being super aggressive, trying to get a 3-and-out, get a turnover, give the ball back to my offense. And if they hit us for a long gain off that, we'll get them next time. I don't think you can try and just force them off the field, bend, don't break, something like that. I think you need to be hyper aggressive and live with the results.
I don't have anything to back this up. I'm just telling you what my eyes saw. I saw Tommy Castellanos with Boston College just breaking dudes' ankles in week 1, week 2 at Boston College, and then he went away. I'm concerned we're seeing that again. I like the Canes in this one. We'll see.
I think if you're Gus, you got to do a lot to help your quarterback here. If he's dropping back trying to dissect that Miami defense, you're going to lose this game. You've got to get a lot of misdirections, stuff like that to get Miami's defenses, get their eyes moving this way.
100% agree. A couple things that I want to touch on back from the early window. Wisconsin is like a 98-point underdog at Michigan. It's embarrassing. Anything there? Michigan handles this pretty easily, walking away? If so,
I think so. If
so, what does that say about Wisconsin?
Wisconsin's now just another program. I mean, they dominated the Big Ten. When the Big Ten was down, admittedly, Ohio State was good, but not what they are right now. Michigan was down. But I think it's a 2023 type Michigan win where they win 28-10, but it feels like 48-10.
Right. Yes. Clemson is a large favorite at North Carolina. North Carolina kind of packed it in with that Michael Lombardi book that he emailed out to people saying, here's our plan. And I was like, this is 17,000 paragraphs. What are you doing?
Michael Lombardi loves him some Michael Lombardi. They've been outscored. North Carolina's been outscored 82-23 by TCU and UCF. So they're not going to win the Big 12 this year, that's for sure. And they're also not going to win the ACC. But they're a game ahead of the standings of defending champion Clemson, who comes in this 0-2 in ACC play and 0-3 against the Power Four this season. So this is one of those games where the ACC schedule makers drew this up like, we got Clemson, North Carolina, and Miami, Florida State on the same day. We're going to get the late afternoon, the primetime ABC spot. We're going to knock the SEC off. Not so much.
Not so much. Talking about that ACC vaunted scheduling, the brilliance there. Duke, based in Durham, playing at Cal. I think kickoff is after 10:30 Eastern in the PM, not the AM, which the ACC is pretty. They like those 10:30 AM kickoffs. This is 10:30 p.m. Might be 10:45. It's like Saturday Night Live time. Durham, what?
Turns out it's hard to fit the University of California at Berkeley into the Atlantic Coast Conference. Like, that comes with complications. Who would have thought?
Texas Tech is a fun football team to watch. They're at Houston. Can Houston kind of scare them, or no way?
I don't think so. Houston's wins. They beat Stephen F. Austin, Rice, Colorado, Oregon State. Houston's off to a great start, but Houston's still very much trying to rebuild this thing. Texas Tech is thinking Big 12 championship at a minimum. They're dreaming of competing for a national championship at Lubbock. I think that defense controls the game. I think there's a whole lot of red in the stands, and half of it might be red and black instead of the red and white for the home team.
Yeah, Tech's got Houston this weekend, and then they get Kansas next week. That won't be an easy one. That'll be a battle. But then they've got in 3 of the next 4 weeks after that, they've got Arizona State, Oklahoma State, who's obviously reeling after Gundy, Kansas State, BYU. So there's a handful of 20 to 25 ranked teams ranked in that area left on the schedule, but they've got to be impressive here and continue winning and do it impressively against teams that they should in order to be that bid for the college football playoff.
I'm going to make one bizarre, maybe stunning prediction, and then I'm going to take us to a good game. My bizarre, stunning prediction: Louisiana Monroe is going up to Northwestern. Northwestern is up in Illinois. Warhawks coming to town, boy.
Is this to cover or to win?
Win the football game. You play to win the game, Zach.
Well, if ULM still have Ahmad Hardy, I'd be with you. He now plays for Missouri, so that lessens my confidence. So I'm gonna say that's more bizarre than stunning. That's just me.
Moving right along. Michigan State is at Nebraska. I hate to say it. I feel like we already do know what these teams are. And it doesn't bode well. But it should be a very good football game. And somebody's going to lose this, and that's not great for either team.
I've seen Michigan State in person. I think they have some talent at key spots with Nick Marsh. I think Aiden Childs is a solid Big Ten quarterback. I don't think he's an upper-tier Big Ten quarterback. But they just don't have the firepower on both sides of the ball that they used to under Mark D'Antonio, the impressive human beings in the secondary and at the defensive line, especially the defensive line spots. When you watch Michigan State, you think, yeah, this is a team that's maybe, they're fighting for bowl eligibility. They're not anything impressive. And I think Nebraska right now is a small step ahead of that. They're a 7 or 8 win team. Again, not super exciting by any stretch.
The fact that you said a small step is an indictment on that rule in Nebraska.
Yes.
I mean, show me differently, and
no, I'm not disagreeing with you in any way. I'm just saying Nebraska. It seems like the Big Ten has Ohio State and Oregon are up here. Then you have the next step. Your Penn States, Indiana, Michigan. Nebraska should be in that group, and they're not.
But should they be in that group because the national narrative said they should be in that group?
Because they have all the resources and they have no competition for anything around them. They should be able to get everything they want. That's why.
Name me a school, like if you said 8 years ago, hey, there's going to be a new system where we're going to democratize the access to talent, and if you have a fan base that's willing to pony up, you can totally out-recruit your historical – like that's designed for Nebraska. They're the team. They're the professional football team of the state of Nebraska. Like, why are they not buying their way into the top 15?
Not wrong.
Yeah. So to tell you about this slate, we've spoken about Louisiana Monroe at Northwestern and Michigan State, Nebraska. Okay. I got one more game and then we can go anywhere you guys want to go. Boise State, Notre Dame. Notre Dame needs to get on track. Boise State needs to prove themselves, in a big televised environment. What do we like, guys?
I like Notre Dame to score a lot of points and win this game. I think this is going to have major playoff implications for the American, because if Boise State doesn't win this game, then you're pretty much just guaranteeing that whoever wins the American's getting into the playoff, and that's that. In Notre Dame, I think this is a really top 10 football team, that I don't know if they have the schedule to make the playoff. I mean, their wins are going to be over Purdue, assuming they win out. Purdue, Arkansas, Boise, NC State, USC, Boston College, Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, Stanford. Like the best team in that group might be Navy.
Yeah.
I mean, to Scott's credit, I think CJ Carr is playing at a high level of football early on in his career, and that bodes really well for the future of Notre Dame. But I think even if they went out with that schedule and the hate and vitriol that Indiana faced after their schedule last year in making the playoff, Notre Dame does not deserve to be in the playoff, even if they went out. Now, if there was only a solution to this, like if they could just join a nearby conference and be able to fix that problem, I'll always stand on that hill. That's a hill I'll die on.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's averaged 50 a game in their last 3. That includes against an A&M defense that held Auburn to 10.
Yeah, the issue is not Notre Dame's offense; it's the defense.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. I got nothing else in this slate that I even want to bring up on this podcast. But is there anything you guys want to bring up on this podcast?
I'm interested in Kent State, Oklahoma, not for the outcome of the game, because Oklahoma's walk-ons could win that game. But I'm interested in how Brent Venables and company handle Michael Hawkins, because he's the guy now until he's not. And maybe Jean Mateer plays next week in Dallas, but you have to assume not. So given that Michael Hawkins is it for quarterback in your biggest game of the season to date, on the one hand, you want to play him 4 quarters and get him every single rep you can to make him as comfortable as you possibly can going there. On the other hand, you're going to want to pull him in the middle of the second quarter, because if he goes down, you're either toppling a hurt John Mateer out there or playing your third string guy. You don't want to do either one of those things. So I don't know what the right answer is. I'm going to be interested to see how many snaps Michael Hawkins plays and the type of snaps they call to see, to get a peek of what they feel like he could do moving forward into the Texas game.
That injury came at a pretty good time. I think I feel like we're in week 5. I'm not sure we've mentioned Louisville at all, and they're at 4-0 right now, undefeated. Now they've only beaten Pitt, was their only major conference opponent that they've played this year. But Jeff Brom has them at 4-0, and they take on Virginia this week. So Virginia coming off a big win last week against Florida State that went down to the wire. That's a game that should have some offensive firepower behind it and should be, in a slate of games that isn't all that impressive. That's a captivating matchup.
I'm also interested in Mississippi State at A&M. I don't think Mississippi State's a SEC contender, but there's a world of difference between 8 wins and 6 wins. They lost that Tennessee game at home that they were literally throwing it in the end zone to send it to overtime or win it. So I think they can go to College Station and compete for sure. I think they can throw the ball on this A&M defense and go make that more interesting than A&M would like it to be.
John Brice is in Hawaii. Hawaii is off. That's unfortunate. That's all I got. Gentlemen, this has been great fun. Let's look forward to the games. Zach still holds a pretty quality lead in our picks. Picks coming out tomorrow. Appreciate everybody who's listening. If you're still listening to this pod 24 minutes in, text me. Let me know you love us. We appreciate you. With that, we're out.